It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lake.
I'm Edwin Gao. In the news this Monday, September 1. Former Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon has taken his oath as the new Public Works and Highways Secretary. This comes after President Bongbong Marcos accepted former Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonoan's resignation. Dizon announced his first order will be to seek courtesy resignations from all Public Works executives and impose a lifetime ban on contractors involved in ghost or substandard projects. He also said an independent commission will handle investigations and the cases against adding agency personnel and contractors.
Ang unang-una ko pong order na ilalabas ay ang pag-order ng courtesy resignations top to bottom. USEC, ASEC, Division Head, Regional Director, hanggang District Engineer ng buong bansa. Yan po ang unang-unang order na gustong ipagabas ng ating Pangulo. Ikalawa po, itong mga ghost project at substandard project, kinlear ko na rin po sa ating Pangulo na ang mga kontraktor nitong mga ghost project na ito, unang-una, mag-i-impose po ako ng lifetime blacklisting, ban, immediately. Kapag ang isang project ng isang contractor ay ghost o napatunayang substandard, wala na po itong proseso, wala nang investigasyon, automatic po, blacklisted for life ang contractor na yan. Isa sa mga gagawin po natin immediately, nakausap ko na rin po ang ating Pangulo at si Secretary Chris Roque ng DTI. Magkakaroon po tayo ng sweeping revamp sa tulong ng ating Secretary of Trade and Industry at ng Office of the President ng PCAB. Narinig po natin yan sa mga investigasyon sa Senado. Na-mention po yan ni Senator Ping Lacson. Kasama din po yan.
President Bongbong Marcos explained why he let go of DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan for Transport Secretary Vince Dizon. Here's Marcos during an ambush interview with reporters this morning.
It was Secretary Bonoan who said that basically that he took responsibility because it was under his, all of these things happened, all of these problems happened under his watch. So under the principle of command responsibility, he felt that he should leave his post. So and why Vince Dizon? Because he seems he's done a very good job at the OTR. And I think he's already set the stage for all of the things that we need to do. So pwede na niyang iwanan and go to Public Works because he's also familiar with the workings of the Department of Public Works and Highways.
The president also plans to issue an executive order that will create an independent commission for flood control projects. The head and the members of this group are yet to be picked, but Marcos already has a team in mind for the said commission. Aside from questionable state-funded projects, the group will also look into how the DPWH works and look out for insertions in the 2026 budget.
We are putting together the EO that will create the independent commission. The independent commission will be the investigative arm so that they will continue to investigate whatever information is received. It will be sent to them. They will investigate it, and they will make recommendations as to how to proceed, whether kasuhan itong mga ito or i-ombudsman o dalhin sa DOJ, whatever it is. But they will recommend to the executive. Depends on how it's structured. 5 members ba? 7 members? Sino mag-head? Sinong chair? All of those things. So we haven't put the structure together yet. But the names, I think, it will be. We need forensic investigators. We need, of course, lawyers, justices, prosecutors who will look at the evidence and look at the information that we have.
Meantime, senators questioned businesswomen and flood control project contractor Sarah Discaya over her wealth and her luxury cars during the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing earlier today. Discaya is the owner of Alpha and Omega General Contractor, and she also admitted she is either owner or part owner of 8 other construction firms that have cornered about 400 DPWH contracts since 2022. She said, by way of defense, that her family's 23 years in the construction business made it possible for them to earn billions. Senator Jingo Estrada, however, pressed her on alleged favoritism in bidding and possible connection with public works officials.
Kaya nyo ba talaga pagsabay-sabayin yung mga construction, mga proyekto ninyo? Paano nyo nagagawa ito?
Yes po, we have sufficient employees naman that can carry out and execute the project.
Okay, ilan ba yung mga empleyado ninyo?
In the office po, mga 200 plus.
Nakakapagtaka dahil yung siyam na construction companies nyo, yun ang laging favored, kumbaga, sa bidding. Kasi ang balita ko, isa kayo sa mga una nakakita at nakakapili ng mga projects. Bago pa mabuo ang National Expenditure Program, yung tinatawag natin na NEP. Parang menu lang sa restaurant na nakaka-order kayo kaagad. Sino ang point person nyo sa DPWH na nagbibigay sa inyo ng informasyon na ito, para sa inyo, ito, para sa kanya? Sino?
Sir, wala po akong nakakausap po.
Wala kang kilala sa DPWH?
Wala po.
Hindi kami maniniwala niyan, wala kayong kilala sa DPWH.
Meron ako yung mga engineer, yung mga district engineers siya.
Yun mga pala. Sino yung mga district engineer na nakilala mo?
Pero hindi po sila nagbibigay ng project po sa akin.
Here are the other stories we're watching this hour. China has warned its nationals of alleged worsening public security in the Philippines. Beijing has also urged citizens to avoid high-risk areas and strengthen safety measures amid reports of increasing crimes. The DFA, however, says the advisory, and we quote, mischaracterizes the situation. It adds that crimes, including those involving Chinese nationals, are being addressed by law enforcement.
The Judicial and Bar Council held day 3 of its public interviews for the next ombudsman. 4 candidates faced the panel, or will face the panel today. That's Annalisa Logan, Supreme Court Justice Mario Lopez, Melvin Matibag, and Michael Frederick Musni. The position was vacated after former Ombudsman Samuel Martirez, whose 7-year term ended on July 27.
Former Vice President and now Naga City Mayor Lenny Robredo has officially joined the Mayors for Good Governance. The organization, led by Mayors Benji Magalong, Vico Soto, Joy Belmonte, and Siti Hataman of Basilan, or Isabela Basilan, announced the first batch of new members for the 2025 to 2028 term. Robredo pledged to support the group's call for good governance, including full transparency on flood control projects.
And Father Flavi Villanueva, a critic of the Duterte administration's war on drugs, has been named one of this year's Ramon Magsaysay awardees. He was recognized for his lifelong mission to uphold the dignity of the poor and his advocacy for human rights and justice, including supporting families of drug war victims. The award ceremony, known as Asia's highest honor, will be held on November 7th at the Metropolitan Theater in Manila.
And joining us today, as always, Storycon's resident political heckler, Tito Raul Llamas.
Happy Monday sa lahat ng ating tigapakinig. Pasensya na po at hindi umabot sa ating studio.
Ano sa likod mo?
Helmet ko, 400 years ago, nung samurai pa ako.
That makes sense, no? That he's been alive that long. I always suspected it, pero okay na rin na you confirmed it. And from the Philippine Star, as always, we've got Editor-in-Chief, Amy Pamintuan. Hi, Amy.
Hi, everyone. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday!
Napaka-bulaklaki naman ni
Sabi na nga, inina pa ako eh.
Kasi malungkot eh. Grabe yung ha. Binaha ka ba? Binaha ka ba nung Sabado?
Oo,
Grabe yung baha. Ha?
Di ako makauwi. Ilang oras.
Kaya galit na galit ang mga tao ngayon, ano?
Istabit.
Tuwing matatrap ngayon ang mga tao sa baha, nagagalit dyan sa mga nangyayari
Ang ganda ng
ngayon.
timing eh.
Tingnan mo, sobra talaga.
Ang galing ng timing
Tuwing
talaga.
mababaha ka ngayon, tuwing matatraffic, ayan, meron ngayon pinagbubunto na ng galit.
Mother Ignacia, lampas tao.
Oo nga, grabe daw, grabe
Kasi
talaga.
sinabi nyo, sarado. EDSA,
Grabe.
sarado. Isabi nyo, sarado.
Alam mo,
Pumunta na
nasa,
Mga lugar,
nasa ABS pa
Oo,
ako niyan na ganyan yung Mother Ignacia. Hindi na nagbago. Tagal na nun.
Hindi, mga lugar daw na never na nabaha, binaha nung Saturday.
Teachers Village, binaha.
Yeah.
Yung Magdinawa Street, hindi pa binabaha yun. No? Arneo, binaha.
Yung loob ng Ateneo na medyo hilly area,
Binaha.
yun, binaha lahat.
Siyempre, UP.
Ganyan siya katindi.
Kalayaan, UP, lahat. No?
Kaya, at saka yung mga pati daw yung mga SUV hanggang sa bintana na yung tubig. Kaya tuwing magagalit ngayon ng mga tao, ayan iniisip, bakit ba kami binabaha ngayon?
Well,
Apart from climate
now
change,
we know. Now we know, Ami. So this is the one good
Yeah.
thing that's coming out now. At least
Oo nga
na-expose na yung I
Yeah.
guess kalakaran sa DPWH, 545 billion pesos in flood control
Yeah.
projects the last 10 years, and the situation has not gotten any better, and now we know why. So, recap lang natin mga nangyari sa Blue Ribbon Committee hearing earlier. By the way, my first question there is, I don't understand bakit nila inexcuse si former Sec Manny Bonoan from the hearing. I get that he's
outgoing.
he's gone, he's been replaced, but he's still the key here, right? So whatever his testimony is, it would have been valuable because he is the key here in the last 3 years. I'm sure I'm not accusing him of wrongdoing. I'm saying I'm sure he knows a lot of things, right? So I don't understand why they excused him. In any case, okay, so when it comes to the Discayas, we found out that si Sarah Discaya admitted to owning 9 construction firms. Actually, medyo magulo yung testimony niya here. At first, she admitted that yes, they were either owners or part owners of 9 construction companies, but later on, she said no, Alpha and Omega lang siya, and that she's the CFO now and she's not involved in the day-to-day projects, which contradicts what she said earlier. These 9 companies are Alpha and Omega, St. Timothy, St. Matthew, Great Pacific, St. Gerard, Waymaker, YPR, Elite General Contractors, Amethyst Horizon, Alpha and Omega /Elite, St. Timothy /Elite, St. Timothy /Amethyst, St. Matthew /Elite. I got that full list from the PCIJ, Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, that also did an investigative report on them. Yung mga / those are the JVs, the joint ventures. So ito na nga yung list that came up during the Senate hearing of the firms that are owned or connected to the Discaya, or perhaps they were the incorporators but may have divested already. In any case, inamin ni Sarah Discaya, 9 companies. She admitted that sometimes these 9 companies would bid for the same projects, which I can't remember which senator said it. I think it was Senator Tulfo who said, yan ang tinatawag na bidding-biddingan, right? They would gun for the same projects and, try to outbid each other. In the end, sila pa rin ang panalo, the Discayas, because, it still goes to them. She says, go ahead.
Nung una, ay dinay niya na may mga kilala siya sa DPWH na nagbibigay sa kanya ng menu ng mga projects sa NEP. Hindi pa sa insertions. Eventually, inamin niya, nakilala niya yung mga district engineer. Kaya naman yung importante yung mga district engineer. Lalo pinapanood ko kanina, sabi ko, grabe yung mga pagbawi. Tapos tinatanong din, itong mga single proprietorship, bakit ganito kalalaki yung kanilang mga proyekto? Kahit hindi siya illegal, medyo open siya, questionable. No? Marami na pinag-usapan kanina dito sa Blue Ribbon. Ang hinihintay ko, yung sama ng loob ni Tito Soto, ni Ping Lacson, nung binanatan sila ni Blue Ribbon Head Marcoleta. At, bakit sila salita ng salita sa floor ng Senate, but hindi na lang sa Blue Ribbon? At kinastigo rin niya si Kiko Pangilinan at saka si Tito Soto na bakit gusto pang magtayo ng independent commission? Bakit kaya nga merong Blue Ribbon para doon? So, yun yung hinihintay ko kanina kung may fireworks doon sa mga banat ni Marcoleta.
Wala.
Wala. In fact, they were very genial during the hearing, no? They were joking around with each other.
Gusto lang naman yata ni Marcoleta mag-proceed yung Blue Ribbon Ayan, nag-proceed na. And anyway, it will be superseded by the independent commission. Tapos iniimbestigahan na rin ng ombudsman, nag-form ng ombudsman ng 7-member panel to investigate.
Yeah.
Pati Commission on Audit, nag-form na ng task force para mag-investigate. Kaya in the end, sa ngayon lang, wala tayong nakikita kasing iba. Kaya okay, pinatawag ng Senate. Pero, I think lawmakers should not be investigating this issue. Diba?
Pero yung hinihingi book ni Vince Dizon na courtesy resignations across the board.
Top to bottom.
How does that work?
Hanggang district engineer.
Yeah, but these are civil service eligibles eh. You cannot demand the resignations unless you have cause.
That's why it's a request.
Hindi, kaya iimbestigahan muna.
Hindi. That's why it's a courtesy resignation. It's
Yeah,
a
but-
request. You're not
Yeah,
demanding.
You can't force
technically.
them to step down because they can question you in court eh.
Kasi yung
Hindi, courtesy resignation lang naman.
That's why
forced resignation.
That's why it's courtesy.
Ibig sabihin, pwedeng hindi sila mag-resign.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing stopping these people from saying na I
think
refuse
it
to do
gives
that.
Vince a free hand to reassign muna people. Kasi nag-resign lahat di ba? Makakapag-reassign siya ngayon na mas madali dahil wala magrereklamo.
Yes, if they all resign. Because Ed is correct, hindi siya demand, it's just a request.
It's not mandatory.
If they all resign.
Hindi
Siguro
ko
naman
resign,
at this point,
Judge.
we can at least expect that those who are complicit will at least have the face to resign, will at least have some shame, right?
You're so
Because,
optimistic.
no, I'm just saying.
Actually, parang floating lang sila, di ba?
Because, what's also coming out here is the district, and sinabi ko na to before in previous show, the district engineers seem to have a lot of power. They
Yeah.
wield a lot of power, right? They are the linchpin between the contractors, congressional lawmakers, and other LGU officials. They are the ones who will sign off on the projects. They are the ones who will say, oh yes, pwede mo ilagay dyan. That can be a project, right? That can be an insertion. And they were the ones, sabi ni D.E. Henry Alcantara from the Bulacan 1st District, who was called to Senate earlier today, sabi niya, it starts with the project engineers, di sila naman yung may power, but ultimately, it's also the DEs who sign off, right? And he made it sound like they have no power to investigate or audit some of these projects, which is obviously inaccurate because si Senator Ping nga had his staff go around and audit how many projects in how many days lang, right? Whereas this district engineer, Alcantara, has been in position for 6 years at least. And by the way, other thing we found out about him, he goes to the casinos 2 to 3 times a month. Inamin niya that they have a casino habit.
Bawal yun.
And
Bawal yun.
Bawal yun.
yung katag team niya,
Correct.
yung katag team niya, si Assistant District Engineer Bryce Hernandez, also has apparently, according to Senator Ping, a big gambling problem. Like, sabi ni Senator Ping in the afternoon interpellation, sabi niya, one of them lost 300 million pesos in total
Sana all.
at the casinos. Kaya nga, when you think about that kind of money, right, sabi ni Senator...
Nakakahilo, no?
What kind of people would lose 300 million pesos
Baka
at
3
the
million lang ako
casinos?
sa loto, okay na ako.
If it's not your money.
And what kind of people, mabilis na sa kanila to put down bets of 5 million per game, per round? It boggles the mind. I mean, sorry, Bob, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
I
I was just going to say kasi of course there's the harder way of doing it is getting people to submit courtesy resignations kasi you can just simply go the legalistic way and say no, I refuse to. On the other hand, it's so much easier to just do a lifestyle check of specific people kasi these are people who come to work every day or at least several times a week. And you can see from the cars they drive, their official residences.
Well, yeah, it came up during the hearing that si Assistant DE Hernandez shows up in a Porsche.
Mga ganun. Kasi, we have a very old law from 1955, RA 1379, the Forfeiture Act.
Di ba
If you
vintage
cannot
yan? Di ba mas
justify
mahal yan?
your assets based on your legitimate income, it is subject to forfeiture.
Tagal pa yan, yung lifestyle check.
Oo nga.
Proseso pa yan. Kailangan mo pang makuha yung SALN. Yung courtesy resignation, mas madali. Dahil courtesy resignation, markado ka na. At pwede kang i-float.
Float siya, no?
Pwede kang pahirapan nung boss mo.
Kung mag-resign ka.
Kung mag-resign sila. Sana naman...
Kung hindi ka magsabit ng courtesy resignation, pwede kang pahirapan.
Kasi remember, Bok, the President required all the generals to submit their courtesy resignations before, and yung mga top-ranking generals, they balked There was a moment that they refused to until they gave in.
Ano nangyari sa kanila? Sige nga.
Until they gave in. But these are PA mayors and PNPAers. So kahit pa paano meron ng you follow commands, you follow the orders or they torpedo your career. Versus for example basic engineers.
Humingi lang ng official si Vince na para to put everyone on floating status. Yan lang yun. Kung ayaw nila, diwag, floating pa rin kayo. Nire-reassign niya yan.
Ayayari ka pag hindi ka nagbigay ng courtesy resignation.
Ganun lang yun.
Yeah, okay.
Tapos, halimbawa yan.
Tingin ko lahat magbibigay. Lahat or almost all.
Lalo ngayon, sa pressure ngayon, public pressure, ang lalabas dyan sa balita, hindi yung nag-resign, nag-issue ng courtesy. Ang lalabas dyan yung hindi nag-submit ng courtesy resignation.
Okay, but that presupposes kasi hiya
Well, and conscience, sana naman may natira pang conscience, no? Kahit pa paano. I mean, tao pa rin naman sila, so they are still human beings. So hopefully, there's still a little bit left.
Sila sa kalabas na ng kuweba. 1 foot in.
Hindi pa. That's why I'm expecting a little bit of hiya nga Kasi,
1 foot out.
Wala, I'm gonna stay in my cave forever. Mas masaya doon.
Suspindihin pa naman yan bago lang i-accept yung resignation kung sakasakala, di ba? Suspindihin ka dahil nga civil service, kailangan for cause.
For cause.
Pero masususpindi ka na, sususpindihin ka na
Hinihintay ko sana
Gusto lang ni Vince mag-reshuffle.
Hinihintay ko sana kanina na tanungin si Bonoan. Kaso, pinaalis siya kagad
Kaya nga Kaya nga, I don't understand that.
Di ba 3 days ago, sabi mo hindi ka mag-resign?
2 days ago lang. I mean, that video that we're running right now came out just the day before the resignation announcement.
Bakit nakadali sa kanya yung bahan ng weekend?
Sa Quezon City.
Nagkapikunan
Binaha siya, pati siya.
Kasi yung bahan ng weekend talaga was remarkably bad So,
Talaga. It was strange.
Remarkably bad. Although in fairness kasi, you saw what? How many days worth of rain? 5 or 7 days of rain?
5 days worth of rain in 1 hour.
In an hour daw.
In part, it's also an act of God.
Hindi dahil sa high tide.
So we can say it was an act of God that wala si that forced Secretary Bonoan to resign.
No, not that in particular. I mean, it's an act of God to make the rain fall down so that people wake up and say na.
Someone has to go.
I'm sorry. Let's start kicking.
Someone has to answer. But that's the whole point. Resignation is the easy way out. I agree with him. He has to face the music, right? Again, principle of command responsibility. I'm not saying that he was corrupt or he did something seriously wrong, pero under the principle of command responsibility lang, President Marcos na mismo nagsabi you should have known all of this was going on.
But resignation naman does not absolve you.
Well, it
They
doesn't.
can still go after him.
But for one thing, I mean, here's the first chance for the senators to grill him. Well, second chance, because it is the second hearing. And they didn't. They let him off the hook, right? Okay, what else do we know about the Discayas today? What did we find out? 28 daw lang daw yung luxury cars nila,
Oo
not
nga.
40. That's not
Na nasa yung iba sa kumpanya.
correct. So yung iba daw are
Oo.
service vehicles. Yung luxury cars nila, just 28. And the other thing we found out today was that she bought them from dealers here. They are Frebel Enterprises and Auto Art. Now, si Senator Tito Soto said Frebel was the one that was charged by BOC a while back of smuggling. It has a smuggling charge of nag-smuggle daw na Bugatti itong Frebel Enterprises.
Ay, yung 40 sa kanila nang galing yun eh.
Kaya
Sila
nga.
naman
Oh, sila nagsabi.
Yeah.
Yung
Yeah.
asawa niya yata.
Yeah. So I guess 40 includes the vehicles, the service vehicles.
Di pa kasama ng vehicles.
No. Hindi naman. Yung, ayun, 28 sa pamilya and the rest sa kumpanya daw.
Yeah, kaya nga,
Sino ba
service-
may-ari ng kumpanya?
The service vehicles, yeah.
Kasi yung iba ATV oh. Yung iba ATV. Yung nasa video mga all-terrain vehicles, yung mga pangtawid ng dagat,
Deliver.
ng ilog.
No.
Yeah.
Hindi kasama yun doon sa luxury.
Hindi kasama sa luxury dapat yon. Hindi luxurious yun eh. O baka naman pati yung number ng luxury vehicles padded.
Yeah.
Hindi, tama siguro yung luxury, 28 lang.
And these
Yung
are
regular,
Oo. And
yung regular
And she was
sa
asked-
kumpanya.
napilitan
ATV.
siya about it, and she said, well, I have 4 kids. Para bang, how many is that? 7 cars to a kid, I guess.
28.
She was like, well, I have
Tama,
4
no?
kids, They need this 28 cars, I guess.
Eh kasi nga naman, how many days in a week?
O sa bagay, one car a
one every
day.
Hindi mo naisipin mga ganung bagay.
Ay, so,
Kaya mo isipin mo yung ganyan eh. May coding pa eh.
Hindi talaga ako taga 1%, no? It's like, I don't understand the ways,
Coding
the way
pa eh.
of the 1%.
Walang luxury vehicle sa kuweba.
Certainly walang Maybachs and walang Cadillacs. The other thing we found out about them is
Rolls.
all these other companies, many of these other companies, they're named. Si Sarah Discaya denied that she was still involved. She says nasa Alpha and Omega na lang siya, but it's her relatives who run the other companies anyway. So, for example, with St. Timothy, it's run by a certain Angeline Rimando, who is now the president. And Angeline Rimando is the niece of Curly Discaya. St. Timothy had 145 flood control projects since 2022. And if you guys will recall, when we interviewed Congressman Leviste, and the QC engineer, he also named St. Timothy as one of the contractors that built was it a revetment or embankment that collapsed then? That was problematic. And then also sa Albay, meron din problematic project itong St. Timothy. And it was also named by, I think, sa Oriental Mindoro din.
Hinihintay ko, Reg, na itanong sa kanila sa Senate hearing yung profit margin. Paano pinapaliwanag nila na kaya marami silang bilyones ay dahil marami silang proyekto. Pero you can only have a profit margin na so much, di ba? Hindi yung ganun
What's the reasonable
kalaki.
profit margin again? Was it 10%? What's the reasonable profit margin? The acceptable one?
Problema yun, no? Yung, biro mo, na-amass mo yung ganun kalaki in just a few years. Ano yung profit margin mo?
Well,
Magkano yung atong mo sa mga
correct.
proyekto?
Well, she said they've been in construction 23 years, but they only started bidding with the DPWH, working with DPWH in 2016. So that is the first year of former President Duterte's time. They only started working on flood control projects 2016 onwards. Sabi ni Sarah Discaya yan at the hearing today.
At saka yung sagot daw nila na DPWH, nag-umpisa kayamanan. Hindi daw yan, out of context daw yan.
Na-splice daw yung video. But nevertheless,
Plus price, ha? Grabe.
whether or not the video was spliced, the paper records will bear this out, which is that they have cornered a lot of the DPWH flood control projects in the last 7 or 8 years, right? So the bulk of the money still came from DPWH, kahit na hindi lang yun yung business. To answer your question, Ed, there is a law, I think, or a rule that says that government agencies have to award to the lowest bidder. Kasi nga, the point is to save the government money, right? So obviously, if you're, let's say, 10 contractors bidding for one project, you're gonna try to undercut each other by few thousand, a few million pesos. So pababaan yan ng bid, right? Because the government
Actually,
is
ginagawa
mandated.
dyan, Reg, ginagawa dyan, kakausapin mo na ibang contractors para sigurado ikaw mananalo. Kumbaga yung bid yun, rig na. No?
Take
Para
turns
ikaw
kayo,
yung-
take turns.
Oo. Tapos isa-subcontract mo na lang yung part ng project sa kanila.
Yes.
Ano yung, para kunyari magbibid sila, kunyari magko-compete kayo, pero naayos nyo na kung sino mananalo.
Yeah, but that's assuming na yung competitors mo are not also not also owned by you.
Eh, paano ikaw ay may-ari ng lahat ng bidder?
Which is
Oo.
Which
Or
is-
kaibigan mo.
which-
or mga kaibigan.
Which apparently is happening, as admitted by Sarah Discaya. Now, sometimes her different companies bid for the same projects. Yun nga
Yes.
tinatawag na bidding-biddingan.
Kaya nga, dapat tignan yung stockholders ng mga company. Yung kasi, nandun kasi yung pera eh. Yung paltan yung COO eh. Pwede mong paltan yung head eh. Pero sino yung may hawak ng majority stocks? Yun yung may control.
Yeah. The PCIJ did a very good investigation on this, which they published on their Facebook page. That's Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, where nakuha nila lahat ng SEC records ng major contractors. I went through some of them, and the big, at least in the Discaya case, Alpha and Omega, St. Timothy, St. Gerard, sila pa rin eh. Yung names that are listed as the incorporators or the directors for these firms. In fact, the other thing that came up in that data dump that the PCIJ did was see Congressman Elizalde Co was still listed as a director of SunWest in 2022. Remember, he said that he divested in 2019. But actually, was it 2022? Either 2020 or 2022. Basta he was still listed in the papers, in the SEC papers, in one of the documents there, which is an amendment of the Articles of Incorporation. See, Congressman Co was still listed there. And other co-founded and linked companies, according to PCIJ, are, of course, High Tone Construction, FS Co Builders and Supply, which is linked to their sister, what is her name? I can't remember. And meron isa pang, so yeah, FS Co and Builders. But the biggest contractor that's being linked to Congressman Zaldi Co is SunWest Inc., which cornered 79 projects worth over 10 billion.
Alam mo
course.
yan, Reg, interlocking directorate yan, di ba? Nakikita ka natin, mismo yung mga anak nila, yun yung
Oo.
nagiging asawa.
We-
Anak ng Gano, anak ng Ko, di ba?
Oo. We've said
They
this
keep it
before.
within the family eh.
Mabilis lang naman to divest eh. It's so easy. I just need to sign a paper saying I'm divesting my shares. The question is, who's still controlling everything, right?
Yes.
So-
Yan yung stocks eh. Mahalaga yung stockholder. Kami ni Ed kasi, Reg, hirap kami mag-divest eh.
Kung wala ka ng
Walang
pag-aari, ano,
na-divest.
Kaya nga mahirap.
Ano yung divest?
mangungutang muna ako, ganun.
Mahirap mag-divest kung wala kayo na-divest.
Ay, isa pang issue kay Saudi ko today, from John Vic Remulla, sabi niya, merong accusation si John Vic Remulla related to Saldico. Yung bribery at to include daw 500 million intelligence funds to agree to a congressional insertion of police vehicles. Hihintay pa namin yung, hindi mahagilap ngayon si Saldico, yan ang problema eh.
Yeah. See, Congressman Co is really in the center of all this firestorm. because also remember he was the chair of the Appropriations Committee of the House, which is a very powerful position. And he held that position for
From 2022 until January this year.
3 years.
Almost
Yeah.
3 years.
And according
Basically,
to
almost the whole term.
according to Congressman Toby Tiangco and other congressmen we've spoken to, he is also a member of the small committee, the so-called small committee in the House that was in charge of all of the realignments, right? So, siya talaga yung, sabi nga ni Congressman Tiangco, siya lang makaka-explain ng mga insertions.
Actually, it's only a continuation of the previous term na yung Appropriations Committee went to some congressman na bagong-bago and a party list congressman pa. The previous one was ACT-CIS na congressman. Was it Eric Go ba yun? I forget eh. There was a time it was another party list congressman who was a newcomer who also chaired the Appropriations Committee before Zaldigo came in.
So it was before Co's time.
Yeah, may ganun na eh. May at least one incident na ganun eh before Zaldico came in. Again, as a neophyte congressman and again as a party list congressman chairing the appropriations.
Sino ba nag-assign yung mga ganyan?
Yung majority, yung House leadership.
Yeah. Kaya nga.
Yun eh.
That is the key to this problem. Sino bang leadership? Okay, the other issue is in terms of the bidding, what we're finding out is it's really all systemic, pati yung PCAB. There are huge problems at PCAB, the Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board, which is an attached agency to the DTI. It's not attached to DPWH, but it's attached to DTI.
Sorry, there, Eric Yap.
Okay.
Party list congressman ng
Yeah.
CIS
Tama.
from 2019 to 2022, chairman ng House Appropriations Committee.
2019 to 2022 siya. Okay. And then
Chair din siya ng appropriations. He was a neophyte congressman as well. Anyway.
just like Congressman Swansing right now, right? You fight. No, she was in the 19th Congress, but I mean, first time to
Okay.
chair such a huge committee.
Kasi dati the appropriations would go to yung mga senior legislators.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
Not that it's
There.
any better, but
But
not assuming it's any better, but kahit pa paano, meron ng track record, good or bad, in Congress.
ay nako.
Good or bad.
Okay, now we move on to PCAB. PCAB has two of their three directors are contractors themselves, is what we found out. Si Ernie
Paano ba
Bag.
nire-reg siya ng pick-up?
Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board. They are in charge of issuing, suspending, and revoking licenses of the contractors. Again, hindi siya attached agency ng DPWH. They're attached to DTI.
DTI.
The problem is a huge conflict of interest. You have two of the three directors, si Chair Dakay, who we're seeing on screen right now, siya yung third, but two of his colleagues on the leadership, si Ernie Baga of EGB Construction and Arthur Escalante of AN Escalante, own contracting companies themselves, construction companies, and they admitted that they did secure government contracts while they were sitting on PCAB. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is.
That's graft yan, ha?
That should be a crime.
No,
That's a clear, but
It should be a crime,
Graft yan.
but magugulat ka
it
because
is a crime.
there is no law. No, there is no law that says that they have to divest from their companies before they serve on PCAB's board. That's what came out today. And so that's a clear loophole in the
Correct.
law.
There's no law or rule that specifies that PCAB directors must be contractors.
But, but there's
Hindi
also
siya
no
government,
law.
ano?
Talagang institutionalize yung regulatory capture.
Yeah, but there's also no law that says they have to divest before they sit on PCAB's board.
Pero hindi government ang PCAB, ha?
Hindi nga siya government. It's quasi.
Yeah, it's not a government agency.
But
Although it's supervised by the DTI.
Hindi siya attached sa DTI.
Oo.
But-
Hindi. She's supervised siya ng DTI.
Attached.
But it's a private group, no? It
So-
is a private group.
So according to PCAB, all their former officers naman talaga are contractors. So that's industry, that's common in the industry.
Industry siya.
The question is
Industry siya.
here, can you imagine sitting on the board of the accreditation agency and being a contractor yourself? So you have the power to grant licenses, renew licenses, suspend licenses, revoke licenses, but you yourself are a contractor who has taken government projects. I mean,
Hindi, tama naman yun.
Dapat kasi dapat kasi may government representative, di ba? Pero kung private yan, walang habol yan.
Well, they're all appointed by the president, though.
Industry siya industry group siya.
Ang issue naman doon, conflict of interest Kailangan naman talaga yung mga nakaupo sa Integrated Bar of the Philippines, IBP, kailangan naman talaga mga abogado.
correct.
Di ba?
Yan na nga.
Tapos, mga contractor naman talaga yan. Di ba?
Yeah.
Pero yung powers niya, giving, revoking, licenses, yun yung
Dapat may government
yun yung masama. Yun yung pando. Yun yung clearly a conflict of interest. Di ba?
And it's huge powers, ha? For example, in-extend nila yung license ng, was it St. Gerard that was already blacklisted, or was it St. Timothy? So they have the power to, which senator showed that a lot of these top 15 contractors were given poor or failing grades sa evaluation, but they still managed to extend their contracts. Their contracts were renewed by the PCAB, and that's, sabi nga ni Sec Bonoan, there are 3 paper requirements in order to become a government contractor, and that's one of them, right? You can't be a government contractor unless you have a PCAB license. So imagine how much power the PCAB has. This little-known agency that is now, that we're now finding out more about.
I'll go from the PCIJ story from yesterday. Bad contractors can get good contracts. The 15 contractors who got the largest sums out of the flood control contracts have checkered records. 2 are facing possible tax audits. 1 has a previous graft case. Another has been criticized for endangering locals. Over half of the 15 have gotten poor or unsatisfactory marks from the construction performance evaluation system.
So again, which begs the question, how could they have their licenses renewed if they were already marked poor or unsatisfactory, if their projects were marked poor, right? So when you start tracing...
We are a forgiving nation. We are resilient.
Nakakaiyak. Oh my gosh.
Mga politiko, Reg,
Yung mga parating keywords
Sila nag-iimbestiga sa mga ghost projects Nakulong sila dahil sa ghost projects.
You know, the hearing today focused a lot on ghost projects, but that's not the only problem with the flood control projects, right? Meron din yung substandard projects that collapsed after 6 months, right? Meron naman yung
Ghost budgets.
ghost budgets na sabi ni Senator
Tapos na,
Ping.
pero may pondo pa rin.
Tapos na, pero they keep funding it every year. So they keep at today's Senate hearing, they focus entirely on ghost projects. Pero the problem is much bigger than that when it comes to flood control projects, right? There's
Ed, pwede mo bang i-research gaano karami doon sa mga nag-iimbestiga ang na-link o nakasuhan doon sa Napoles controversy?
Grabe na, mukhang masinsinang paghahanap yan. Gustugoy ko ngayon. Ko talaga.
Nakakatawa lang na makikita ka ng napaka-self-righteous ng mga politiko na nag-iimbestiga ng corruption.
We're in the Napoles list.
Sa Napoles ghost projects at saka anomalous projects. Kung ako kasi, tahimik na lang ako. O kaya lilipat ako ng committee.
Kaya nga
Lilipat ako ng committee.
Saka meron pang remember, merong ongoing investigation ngayon ng COMELEC. Yun daw 15 contractors who contributed to the campaigns of senators noong 2022. 15 na yun,
Oh, yeah. Pero yun nga,
Diba?
you know how lawyers work. There's a loophole. That's the loophole we've been talking about.
Ang habol mo naman dito, Ed, hindi lang mga kaso Ang habol mo rito ay isa sa publiko.
Expose yan,
yeah. would be
Kaya
like,
kailangan bilis-bilisan yung yung independent commission para kaya lang naman yan kasi wala pa eh.
like
Wala
the,
pang nag-umpisa ng investigation eh. So we're listening to this. First time sila eh.
Pero naglabas na ba sila ng indications, Ami, kung anong klase yung gusto nilang mag-compose ng independent?
Wala pa eh, wala pa.
Yan ba ay mga
It's very, very new.
bahay?
It's very new, wala pa.
Parang may counting indication lang. Anong klase yung...
Wala pa eh.
Pero
Ah.
Ronald, kung gusto mo ilabas na rin yung yung mga maiingay na congressmen, yung mga congressmen na maiingay dito sa kasong to, pero dawit naman sa pork barrel scam. Di ilabas na natin yung mga maiingay na reporter at mga anchor na dawit din sa na police
sa
list.
pork barrel scam?
Na police list.
Sino yun?
Tanong mo kay Ronald.
I don't know that.
Hindi, pero ito kasi mga congressman nakasuhan.
Oo.
Yung mga journalists, nasa listahan lang ni Napoles. Hindi sila nakasuhan.
Ilan na
Yun
nakita
kay-
doon sa listahan na police eh.
Ito kasing itong mga politiko na ito, talagang formally nakasuhan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yung mga journalists ay
Ay nagdedmahan.
Small fry.
nasa listahan lang. Nasa listahan lang.
Si Lawrence Lubiano, connected to Centerways Construction, which
Magkano bigay niya?
donated to 30 million, which
30 million.
donated
Lipat
to
mo siya?
The biggest,
SP Cheese Escudero's campaign in 2022 was
Yeah.
there. Although hindi siya na
Yeah,
question.
hindi pa natanong, no?
Hindi siya natanong. That would have been interesting. I don't know if that was deliberate, that nobody asked about Lawrence Lubiano. Baka sa house matanong siya if he shows up.
Kailangan ng independent commission.
Oo.
Kaya kailangan talaga bilisan yung independent commission.
Walang magtatanong dyan.
Oo. Di ba sabi kahit si Pig Lacson sabi niya, medyo ingat nga daw siya para lang hindi siya maakusahan that he's taking sides politically. Kaya medyo nag-iingat siya. Para lang daw magkaroon ng kredibilidad yung investigasyon niya. Kasi pag pinasukan mo ng, political attack lang yan wala na. Patay ka na.
Lalo
Kaya kailangan Oo.
lalo na, iba yung kanyang kandidato for Senate President.
Oo. Kaya
But I hope people see that this goes beyond politics, right? There's systemic rot here that needs to be exposed and rooted out, right? Because I
It is
mean,
political.
it's such common knowledge. Ginagawa na natin joke, right? Look at all the memes of the nepo babies on social media, for instance, right? It's become such a joke.
Yeah.
Pero this is a serious problem because we're looking at corruption on so many levels, so many layers, and everyone in this web is complicit, basically, right? Whether you're talking about saan galing, when you start following the money, where did the insertions come from, to who decided on what projects, how much will go to each district, right? Down to which contractors will get. So what we're finding out is that, there's parang sindikato nga, sabi nila.
Reg, kung babasahin mo yung sa social media, yung mga comments sa mga programa, sa television, yung outrage, yung galit is simmering in layer, no? Underneath.
tuwing babaha nga, nagagalit mga tao.
Baka kinakailangan lang ng kaunting trigger, sasabog yan katulad doon sa pork barrel 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Alam ko, parang sa Indonesia, sinunog yung...
Kaya nga nagpapaulan ng Diyos. Para hindi natin malimutan.
But the Filipinos,
babaha, maaalala
the
mo
Filipinos are so forgiving, like you said. Look what's happening in Indonesia.
Saka resilience.
Ang liit lang. We're talking small amounts in
Sinunog yung
Indonesia.
parliament, federal.
Yes.
Sinunog.
Ang bait ng
Sinunog yung
Pilipino.
parliament building.
Also, reminder lang okay, the outrage from the pork barrel.
Members of parliament, nilusob. No?
No, sinunog.
Sinunog, oo. But also
Sinunog.
remember, Boka, massive outrage dun sa pork barrel scandal in 2012-2013. Tinanggal ang pork barrel, but it's still there. And in fact,
by different
names.
by different
Pero,
names.
Ed,
And
yung
now,
pork
nga, and
barrel-
now you don't have limits to how much. Dati kasi 200 million lang and 70 million
yan
lang
nga.
per legislator, depende if you're senator or congressman. Ngayon, Wala, unli na.
So what is the new name
Saka
for pork barrel?
yung pork barrel.
Insertion.
Alam mo yung mga politiko nasabit doon, marunong mag-share eh. Marunong mag-share. Ngayon, dito sa mga ninanakaw, yun na nga sabi ko, tuwing magbabaha, nung Sabado, ang daming galit na galit, pero yun. Doon, nag-feed ng public outrage. Tuwing mababaha ka, yung kotse ko nasira. Inabot ng baha.
but
Hindi ba?
Yeah.
Malas mo pag wala ka insurance.
Ah.
But
Yan, nakikita ngayon ng mga tao kung ano epekto ng corruption.
Pero tingnan mo, Ami, doon sa Indonesia, kabataan yan, ha? Hindi yan
Yes.
mga political parties, hindi yan mga organized sector. Hindi yan yung mga kaliwa. These are almost spontaneous, eh. These are young people na galit. Di ba?
and that's
Di tayo makakapagsunog dito, baha lagi.
Basa parati yung panggatong.
Basa lagi.
Ikaw talaga.
and ultimately that's the question for all of us, right? Where does our outrage go? Does it end on with us talking about it sa hanggang social media na lang, right? I think there's a bigger question there of what the
Pwede ba ipatawag ng
responsible
ombudsman ng
citizens can do.
senador? Pwede bang ipatawag ng ombudsman ng senator?
Pwede
Oo
ba?
naman.
Pwede naman
Oo
because
naman.
Pwede.
Ombudsman? Yeah.
pag may prima facie evidence, I guess.
They're not immune.
Kasuhan, eh. Pwede nilang kasuhan. Pero kung mahalata nyo,
Pag may nakasuhan, oo.
nasa crisis management ngayon ng gobyerno. Itong pag-transfer ni Vince from DOTR to DPWH is part of a crisis management. Yeah? Whether it will succeed is another thing. Pero bahagi ito nun eh. Bahagi ito ng crisis management nila. After nung Torre Sakin, di ba? Ito ngayon. Good luck kay Vince.
O nga eh.
He has
Could
done
this be
a
his
lot.
Waterloo? Kasi medyo mahirap-hirap to ha. Tsaka people are expecting
Yeah.
talagang huge expectations.
Very high expectations.
Well, at the very
Pero
least,
practically, dalawang agency ang hawak niya, DOTR at DPWH. Dahil yung kanyang undersecretary ang ginawang acting, mukhang hindi siya mananatiling acting. Kaya practically, dalawang key agencies ang hawak niya.
well, he's got a big job, that's for sure, and hopefully it doesn't end here with the purging of DPWH. Again, the more important part of it is the investigation about the prosecution. Okay, we have run out of time today. We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for joining Storycon today. Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.